This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina Lee.
Well, welcome everybody to another broadcast of Good Neighbor Podcast in South Charlotte area. And today I have Anne Sutton, Executive Director of the Diabetes Family Connection. And Anne, you and I met recently at a Charlotte area chamber event. So welcome today.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here and share our story.
Yeah, the day I remember just having coffee and you and I connected so well. And I was like, wow, I've never heard of you guys. When you said good reason, we're kind of new to the area. So tell us what you guys do.
Yeah, so the Diabetes Family Connection was founded in 2018 by our founder, Patrick Mertes, and that was out of Raleigh. And our mission is really to positively transform life with diabetes through the power of community. So what we do is offer programming throughout North Carolina that allows families and children with type 1 and adults with type 1 diabetes to come together and have some fun in the outdoors. So it's a recreational based program and really make some lifelong connections and friends and offer some coping strategies and some connection for people that are impacted by type 1 diabetes.
Can you tell us what type 1 diabetes is?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's a lot of misnomers and a lot of misinformation out there in the world. So diabetes is truly an issue with insulin, which is a hormone in your body that helps you turn all your food into energy within your body. So there's two major types. There's lots of others that are being kind of looked at and taken care of through other organizations. So there's a lot more research being done on diabetes, but there's two main kinds. We work with people that have what's called type 1 diabetes. It's an autoimmune disease in which your body actually attacks the insulin producing cells in your pancreas called beta cells and destroys your ability to make insulin at all on your own in your own body. Type 2 diabetes, which many people know a lot about, is actually a metabolical disorder. So you're able to create insulin within your body, but you're not able to use it effectively. So your body becomes insulin resistant, and there's things that you need to do in order to support yourself. But you do make insulin. So the biggest difference is that type 1s don't make insulin at all, and type 2s make insulin.
So your foundation is for children, ages, like what is the youngest to?
Yeah. So at our family camp, we've had everything from 6-month-olds, little ones with type 1, to we've been able to serve. Our eldest camper has been 72. So we have a broad range of people. So we are able to serve anyone and everyone that's impacted by type 1. And one of the really important pieces of our mission is that we don't just support the person with type 1, but we support the whole family with type 1. Type 1 is one of those diagnoses that doesn't just impact one person in a family. It really changes a dynamic of a family. So we want to make sure that we're supporting siblings and children with type 1 and adults living with type 1 and their families. So everyone involved.
Well, I see your founder, there's quite a good story there. Can you share Patrick's story?
Yeah. So Patrick Mertes is our founder. He is an amazing man that also lives with type 1. He was diagnosed when he was 9. And his big passion is adrenaline-filled activities. So Patrick is the only type 1 that has ever completed a project called 50 and 50. So that means that you hike the highest peaks in the 50 states in less than 50 days. And he did it in 49. And he did it with type 1. So he climbed Denali, he climbed, Rainier, all the biggies. And he did it with his good friend, Michael. And they've had quite an adventure. There's lots of information on our website if people want to find out more about it. But that's where he started, was that he started doing these great adventures, and he decided that he wanted other kids to feel empowered to do these great adventures and other families. So he decided that this was where he wanted to put his passion, was to start a nonprofit that allowed kids to be lifted up to the idea that they can achieve anything they want with a little bit of preparation. So that's what we continue to do every day, is to make sure that our families are lifted up and empowered to go take on the world and just bring diabetes along for the ride.
So these camps, where are they and how often do they have them?
Yeah, great question. So our largest camp is our residential camp called Camp Morris. It happens in June every year in King, North Carolina. It helps 200 campers come to camp and experience 1 week without their parents, but taking care of their own diabetes with our amazing medical staff and our amazing counseling staff, most of which also have type 1. So there's a lot of type 1s on camp that time of year. And then we also have several other programs outside of our residential camp. So we have a family retreat that happens in October every year that is at camp. So for kids that maybe are a little bit nervous about coming to camp for the first time, they're able to come out with their mom, their dad, their aunts, their uncles, their grandma, and their siblings, and enjoy camp for the weekend to kind of get settled in and see what camp really looks like. We also have an amazing teen retreat that weekend that allows teens to really dive into, how do I take care of myself without support of my family members? So how do I go to college with type 1? Mm-hmm. How do I go out in the workforce with type 1? How do I move out of my house with type 1? And how do I become the leader in an organization or in our T1D community at large that also helps make sure that kids feel empowered and people feel empowered to go live life big with diabetes? So we focus on all of those pieces. We have 2 new programs that launched in 2023 and 2024. One of them is one of my absolute favorites. It's called PMA Care Packages. This one is really to support children and adults that are struggling with what we call diabetes burnout. People that live with type 1 diabetes are more likely to suffer from things like anxiety and depression because of the 24-hour management that has to happen in order to stay healthy. So these packages are really to help those people that are struggling with that dynamic and struggling with that burnout piece of just that 24/7 management. So what we do is we get people to nominate these folks, and then our volunteer teams jump in and they create care packages, just like you would get at camp. And they send them out to all the people with a bunch of resources and ways to get involved in the community. And also just a nice note that says, you're not doing diabetes alone. We're all here together. So don't forget that we've got your back. Finally, our newest program is called Camp to Community. What we realized through camp, our residential camp, is that we can't serve enough children. We do sell out of camp in 2 hours. So those 200 spots are gone in 2 hours. So what do we do with all these other kids that want to come to camp? And what we've decided is that we're going to bring camp to them. So we've started a program called Camp to Community that allows us to bring camp out into rural areas where camp doesn't exist right now for kids with T1D. So we have gone to Hickory last March. We will be in Boone September 14th this year. Love to have anybody that's listening come join us out there. You can sign up on our website. But September 14th, we will be in Boone, and then we're looking at other areas across the state as well to serve with this unique program that allows people to experience camp that otherwise maybe wouldn't have access to something like that.
Is your nonprofit in other states outside of North Carolina?
So we serve children from other states and families from other states, but currently we do not offer programming outside of North Carolina.
Gotcha.
So right now we're focused on North Carolina. Yeah,
very awesome. Well, I know you have a personal story, and I assume that is why you are involved in such a deep, meaningful way. Tell us about that.
I do. My son, Brady, he is now 19, but he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 3. It was a very difficult time for our family. We really didn't know how to take care of him. We weren't sure what was happening. And it was very overwhelming. And I was able to find a community of people that would share their abilities to get through putting your kid in kindergarten for the first day, and move through to how do you still play soccer, and kind of all those pieces. And truthfully, I couldn't have raised my child without this community of people. So it was really important to me that I give back. And when Brady was able to go to camp for the first time at age 7. He did, and there was no turning back. It was his absolute favorite week of the year. He came home positive and happy and not overwhelmed by diabetes, but like ready to conquer it again. And so when the opportunity arrived for me to be part of that process, I could not turn it down.
And you dove in, all the way, all the
100%.
Are there any other misconceptions or myths that you would like to talk about? Because this is such a big thing. We all know somebody with diabetes.
Yeah. I think some of the hardest ones are things like, well, don't you have that under control yet? Or you can't eat that. Those kinds of statements are not necessarily true. You'll see some great memes online if you ever look them up, but it's, I can eat anything except poison in a cookie. So those kinds of pieces. Truthfully, the management of diabetes has changed dramatically over the last 10 to 15 years. And our community of people that we serve has been able to really live life to the fullest because of that. So, they can eat anything. They just have their pancreas on the outside. So they have to dose their own insulin instead of you dosing it, your body dosing it itself. So, they can accomplish anything. There's no limit to those pieces that they can do. Maybe a cake eating contest is not the best decision for them to be part of. Right. But I don't know that it's a best decision for any of us to be part of a cake eating contest.
How true is that? That is very true. Yeah.
But they can really accomplish anything. I think interesting just for us talking now, it's back to school season and there's a lot of teachers that are trying to understand how do they take care of a child that has type 1 in their classroom, or school nurses that have never handled type 1 in their classrooms. And truthfully, our kids know their bodies. They understand it. They know what they need. And truthfully, if you can, take the time to listen to them and ask the right questions and be curious instead of judgmental, I think all of that goes a really long way for our families.
Excellent point. And, everything is about education. It all comes back to that. Well, absolutely. What a beautiful thing you are doing. And it sounds like Brady's doing very, very well. And what you've done to empower him is amazing. So for our listeners who maybe this impacts their life and they want to get in touch, or tell us how to reach you and what is it you're looking for on the volunteer and donation side of things.
Yeah. They can always reach out to us through our website. It's thedfc.org. And you'll have all the information there. There's a whole events page if you want to get involved in the events. I will say we're doing several volunteer trainings here in the next few months. So all of that information is at thedfc.org/events. So you can sign up for anything there. We are looking for people that are willing to do some of those care packages that we talked about before. So if anyone feels the need to spread some positive mental attitude to some others in the area that are living with diabetes, that's a great way to jump in. We're also looking for people that are willing to connect us to their companies or to other groups of people that they feel like are important for us to know. It's not an easy feat to take care of all of these families and to make sure that it's affordable for all of them. So we're always looking for support that will help us make it more affordable, or to even support a family or a child coming to an event. So camperships are always available, and happy to support people in making those donations as well.
That is wonderful. And did we share your phone number?
We did not.
Okay, let us know that.
Yeah. So the best way to reach me is 704-953-0749, or you can email me at anne@thedfc.org. Happy to connect with anyone that is looking for some support or looking to get involved.
Yes. And that's Anne with an E, ANNE.
That is correct. Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure getting to know more about you guys today. I so look forward to seeing you again out in the community. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us. We so appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com or call 980-351-5719.